Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, Sacred Visibility Catalyst, Intentional Living Guide, and publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine, soon to be celebrating 16 years of inspiring, empowering, and supporting women in living their best lives. So, on this show, I love bringing you women who get you to think outside the box, who get you to break patterns and see life from a elevated vision. And sometimes that calls us to look at our shadows. And I know sometimes you hear that word and you're like, oh, I don't want to look at my shadows. What does that even mean? It sounds so dense and heavy. Well, when I met Sarah, I was just drawn to her work and her way of explaining things and helping women and individuals understand this, walking this tightrope between, light and dark, which we all have a part of ourselves. So joining me today is Sarah Breen, AKA the Shadow Walker. She's an author and energy medicine practitioner trained in a variety of shamanic healing modalities. With over 15 years of experience working in the realms of spirit, she is deeply committed to cultivating a safe, sacred space for clients to express their true selves and in freeing the chains of limited perspectives. She has a mission in clearing and creating bridges for others. Because as Sarah believes, healing is a choice in which our intent gives us access to the healing we are ready for. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Linda.
Well, why don't we start in right there with a definition of what shadows mean, right, in the realm of what you do. Because I think when people hear that term, and I know that was my truth many years ago, it's like, no, I don't want to look at anything dark. And I know you hear this all the time. And let's educate them, because you're right. It's like yin and yang, dark and light, black and white. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So to me, all of our shadows is holding our true nature, and it's not holding it out of bad. It's holding all of our unhealed parts that we were unable to process in parts of our lives. So we have beliefs and we've chosen how to live our lives, whether we believe that's true or not. But at some point, we were unable to deal with our true nature, our power, because maybe society didn't accept us, or our family didn't accept us. And we had to hide a part of ourselves, and we did it unconsciously to protect ourselves. So to me, the shadow is just this beautiful place where we can find our most gifted parts of us.
I love it. So would like unconscious scripts, how we find ourselves in patterns, right? And we may not look at it as our shadows, but there's something in the shadows, right, of our subconscious that's creating the pattern. Would that be correct?
Yes, it's something that we have decided is true to us, when in reality it isn't. We just convinced ourselves that that is true to us because it's true for people around us.
It's, it gets you thinking, right? Like, what is mine?
Exactly. And that's a common question I use, especially in the beginning, is mine, not mine. And I listen to myself. And most of the time, it's not mine.
So it could be from society, family, experiences that we take on this belief system that starts running the show.
Yeah, pretty much. And, we've forgotten how to listen to our spirit, our light. And many of us have to do our deep, dark retreats in order to find out how bright we really are.
And so, like, what are some samples of a shadow so that we can give like concrete examples to our listeners who know they're interested in it but need a little more information?
So shadows, they obviously they're layers like an onion, but I'm always kind of going towards the root of them. I keep digging and digging and digging, and it seems like they all have very specific ties to, you know, mommy issues, abandonment, daddy issues, abandonment, scarcity, all of these major core wounds of our society, and how we have collectively come to this date in humanity. So working with the ancestors, they always say we are a product of everybody that has come before us, and we have to honor that because we're all here today. And even though they did the best they possibly could, we have this beautiful free will to choose differently. So we do have to look at those abandonment issues, and we have to look at those the mother and the father issues. They're pretty common for most people that come in.
So you see, you as a shadow walker, you see the patterns in people, right? Even if it's in just one session, you're able to help them uncover a shadow in their life.
Yeah, so like when somebody starts to tell me, I want to hear their stories, and I listen to their repetitive uh, motions. Their body makes a certain gesture. Their tones change. So it's a lot of seeing where they are hiding. And it's a lot of words that say, well, I'm not angry about that. Well, as soon as you say, I'm not angry about that, you have like a ridiculous amount of rage about that. So it's typically the shadow is the opposite of what you're trying to speak out, because you're separated yourself, your mind from your body. And it becomes this little, like you're at war with yourself.
Ooh, no, that sounds familiar, especially in my younger years. It's almost like holding a beach ball on the beach, trying to hold it underwater. Is that what many of us are doing? We're trying to hide the shadows, hide all the stuff that makes us kind of feel yucky if we have to look at it. Is that what it is? That push pull, that walk in the tightrope is? You're saying we need to face them.
Yeah, so I love that analogy because it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting to constantly hide parts of yourself. And we're obviously hiding parts of ourselves because we don't feel safe. And we need to get to the root of why we don't feel safe. Because a lot of times we're living in situations where we should feel safe, but we don't. Um, so the tightrope to me is really learning that practice of being neutral, so that when you are triggered or your body is reacting to something or your mind is throwing you in a vomit rabbit hole, we all know those too well.
Oh yeah.
You can bring yourself to a neutral place, and that's the tightrope that I always walk. Is I can't respond when my body is reacting or my mind is reacting, but I can certainly get quiet and bring myself back to being neutral so I can really observe mine or not mine.
So it's really coming to this point of awareness so you can identify the shadows, correct?
Yes.
And so you use a variety of tools. So before we go into the tools, I want to go back a little bit, because what led you to doing this deep dive work with clients? Was it a personal journey? Was it your path just unfolded?
So it was a deep personal journey because I almost committed suicide in my early 20s, and I had someone say to me, if you, Sarah, if you don't get to the bottom of this, your children will finish what you started. And to me, I don't want my children to commit suicide. Um, so it became uh, an obsession at first to figure out what was wrong with me, because I don't want my children to go through what I went through. And I I couldn't hold myself back from digging further and further and further because of my children. So I needed to focus on freeing my children to ultimately realize that I needed to free myself.
Well, that's powerful. And you know, so many of the leaders I've talked to over the last 16 years of having the mag and other thing and other platforms is this story that their own hellish journey led them to the transformational work and gifts they're doing with clients, right? And to me, I think that makes it such a more a woman a more powerful leader when she's walked the walk. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because there's women right now who may be in a dark space, right? And just hearing that you've navigated your way through and continue to. And I have a question about a statement you made in sharing that when you said, my children will complete it. Is that something about ancestral energy? Like, what does that statement mean?
So from what I understand, working in the ancestral realm is, and a lot of natives speak about it too, is 7 generations are cursed from our actions, and it keeps rolling forward and forward and forward. And it's because we've lost such a deep connection to spirit. We're in our heads more than we're in our bodies and spirit and soul. So yes, if we don't take care of our shadows and find our true nature, our true power, that's such a gift and service to the world, then we're basically gifting our shadows, our deepest terrors to our children, when it's not even theirs to begin with. They're just in the bloodline, they're just next in line. And you know, it's really sad to think about it that way, but to me it gives me fuel to my fire.
Yeah, I can see why it would. You know what I mean? And now that you've got us all thinking about that, and that's why I wanted to clarify what you said, because I knew there had to be a deep meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sarah, we're going to take our first break and we'll be back. And when we dive in, I want to talk about, you know, you use an analogy about the tightrope, right? And balancing between our light and dark side. So when we come back, let's talk about that more. And I'll be back in a moment, my friends. I am with Sarah Breen, aka the Shadow Walker. You can learn more at mindspiritmapping.com. We'll be right back.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
What if you were living just one perspective of your potential? The truth is, we have lost how to live in partnership with spirit in a participatory way. Sarah Breen, also known as the Shadow Walker, is an integrative shamanic energy medicine practitioner and international best-selling author. Sarah guides you along your journey, reminding you that true healing happens when you walk a path of authenticity and integrity. By doing so, she awakens within you what has been locked away by fears, beliefs, and trauma. With over 15 years working in the energy realms of spirit, she is deeply committed to cultivating sacred space for clients and helps them express their true selves and live free of the chains of their ancestors' unexpressed lives. Learn more at mindspiritmapping.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back, my friends. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. And today we're talking about dark and light, the shadows, and learning to be comfortable looking within to get to the seed of some of your behaviors, patterns, etc. So, Sarah, I've heard you say, it's like walking a tightrope between light and dark. And I'm a visual person, so I can almost see myself walking the tightrope and you're leaning too much one way and then too much the other. So is the key finding the balance between the light and dark?
Yes. So our light is obviously, if we go too far into the light, we can be seduced by our egos and our light of look at me, look how high I can go. And then if we fall too deep into our shadows and we don't realize that the light's coming from within us, it can really just devour us and we can fall into a deep depression. So if we don't balance in between and realize that both sides can be seductive in a way, they pull us in humanity to one way or the other. Star Wars is a great example of that. So it's all around us. So this tightrope is just practicing being neutral and dropping into your body and being right here, right now, because we are just living this life completely wired to like fight or flight. We're just constantly full of stress and going to the next thing and the next thing, and we're not stopping and breathing and looking out the window or going and sitting outside and appreciating all of life around us.
So it feels like as you were speaking energetically, it was feeling in my body as if becoming more present in now, right? Instead of trying to escape, which is, as you said, the fight or flight response.
Right.
So is it learning to be present with what is, the dark and the light of what is?
Yeah. So it's like when you are practicing this tightrope and you're breathing and you're in your body and you're practicing being between both, you're going to feel. And that's the thing, is most people are afraid to feel. They don't feel safe to feel. So I always tell my clients to make sure that you are supported, or even if it's locking yourself in the bathroom and just letting out that silent scream or that cry, because our bodies they need to feel and they need to transmute energy. So when you're in the neutral place, that tightrope, you're just feeling in the present, and everything that's happening in the present is everything that's happened with our ancestry. And it doesn't dictate where the future is going. You have that choice. So it helps you see the light, but it's kind of like, to me, it's as the sun sets, that beautiful light right before the sun sets, or even as the sun rises, that beautiful light that's almost dark, but it's still light. That is kind of the place that I like to be, because I'm able to see both sides.
I can visualize, what you were just describing. So my question for you is, how does someone know that it's their shadows, that are triggering the patterns? So let's say a woman is listening right now and she knows she has patterns. Does it automatically, patterns that aren't serving her, let's say that, because they can be positive patterns too. Is that a sign right there that those patterns are going to continue unless she stops, pauses, and looks within at them?
Correct. Right. So we project onto everyone. So all the good and the bad and the ugly that we see in the other is what is within us. So we have to, when we judge another, when we hate another, when we adore another, that's what's available within us. So when you're practicing being neutral and you feel a trigger coming on, and you can hold a deep state of compassion because you understand that that person's projecting onto you and you projected onto them. We are both mirrors of one another. I can hold a state of compassion that says, I need to look at me. And it really doesn't matter what that person thinks of me or expects of me. in reality, it's what I think of me and expect of me. And I am grateful for that interaction because it showed me my shadow.
So if I understand this correctly, if we're judging another for their, for their judgment of another, right? It's because we have judgment within us, or anger within us if we're judging someone for being angry. So in other words, they're our mirror.
Yes.
That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when I think about it, I mean, and I've been guilty of it, like we go into judgment of something. So what a reframe to know that what we are judging in someone else is really a call for us to heal it within ourselves. Because we couldn't see, you're saying, if I understand correctly, we couldn't see in them if it didn't exist in us.
Right.
Ooh.
Like I'll use my children all the time. Like I'm that parent that, does experiments on my children. But when my children are starting to act out, I notice that there's something brewing in me that has triggered me, and I just wasn't conscious of it at that moment. So I know my children, inside and out. They're amazing spirits. And when they start acting out or they have an emotional outburst or something, it's not that they are having the issue. It's they are processing things from me that I wasn't able to see. So it's almost like a feedback to me, and I'm grateful because it gets me to stop right then and there and just say, no, buddy, you don't have to do that for me. I'm sorry I didn't see that in me, and every single time my oldest will be like, it's okay, mom. I know you're upset, and he'll just walk away, and I gave him permission to not take my stuff on. And we don't realize that we're projecting onto the other, and especially children, they're like sponges. They just take it on, and then they just feed back with it. And over time, this is how we've created these masks over our shadows, is that as children, we've taken on someone else's projection, and then we've convinced ourselves that this is how it is.
Wow. And I've seen your two boys. They are such bright lights. And I could see that, right? When like my daughter's 37, so I'm thinking back to all the times that I was chaotic within me, especially in my 20s and 30s. I was a single mom. And then her reactions, right? And at the time, I wasn't conscious enough to know I was the cause energetically of anything that was coming up. So I love what you said, that they're like a mirror to you to help you stop and drop back into your body and process.
Yes.
But even if it's not children in our lives, our partner can do that too, correct? Or a friend. It's like what we're picking up off each other, if I understand correctly.
Yes. I mean, my husband and I mean, I've almost left so many times because of my own stuff. And I didn't realize that my husband was like probably the most compassionate person I could ever have. But we had to come to the realization that we've chosen to project onto each other, and we became conscious partners at that point. And when he's projecting, he makes me aware of it. Like, I need to get this out. I need to project. I need a mirror. Can you mirror? Sure. And we do this back and forth. So it's actually, it's grown our marriage so tightly, because of this. And having a conscious family and conscious partner is very helpful. And not that he does this work with me, he knows just enough to heal and cleanse himself in the process.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, because we might not know how to use that phrase that you just used about the conscious relationship, but deep inside, that's all I believe we all want, right? Mm-hmm. This place that we're heard and received and loved, the light and the dark parts of us, and held with compassion, mm-hmm. so that we can process. So that's a beautiful place to be in your relationship. And again, that's another mirror as a relationship that you're mirroring to your children to change the ancestral lineage. Yes. For them and their families.
Yes.
So tell us some of the things, Sarah, that's hidden underneath our shadows, right? Because I love for my listeners to always walk away with like a deeper understanding of a topic that that may challenge them. So share some of those things that could be hidden underneath that maybe they'll recognize in themselves and say, oh yes, that's what I've been feeling. I want to work on that.
So especially for women, it's an unraveling worthiness, because it is ancestral. It goes deep and deeper and deeper. So just this not being heard, not being seen, all of those things is probably one of the deeper ones that I find in women mostly. And it's usually masked with, oh, I don't need help. I'm just fine. But inside, you would just love somebody to pick up the vacuum and help you once in a while.
Exactly.
And or do the dishes or help us with the laundry. But we say, no, I'm fine. I've got it. I've got it. And you've got that tone. So I always, like I said in the beginning, I pay attention to tones. I pay attention to body. And for people, I would, especially women, listen to your tones, because our spouses know when you say, I'm fine, they
Yeah.
know, they know that tone. So yeah, there's a deep, like an unworthiness. There's another one is mostly abandonment, money, scarcity, survival. They come down to just basic needs is in our shadows. I mean, they just keep unraveling and unraveling. I can't give you like an exact example because they're so personal to a lot of people. And how they get there is exactly from our ancestry, how we've had things taken away from us. We've had food taken away from us, from other humans. So it's not that nature has done it, it's other humans have done it. So trust is a huge one as well. Trusting in another to support you, to feel safe, to be witnessed. Can you actually be vulnerable enough to allow somebody to witness you? So there's, again, that leads back to worthiness, that leads back to trust. This is how humanity has gotten to where we are today, and this is why we're in the way that we're walking in the world today.
Yeah, and it's a sad place that we're at. I notice even on my own journey, right? It's like, well, I don't want to look at the shadows. I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to feel the uncomfortableness. Where do you think that fear of looking at our shadows comes from? Is it just a normal psychological response? Because it is so invasive that we run to the light and don't look at our shadows. And on my personal journey, I did that, Sarah. Oh man, I could run. I could stick my head in the sand. I would like do whatever I had to do. And I tell people it was freaking exhausting.
Exactly.
I was giving away my life force energy. And I think I was about, I don't know, Nikki's 37. I think she was 6 or 7. I had my first awakening. So I think it was 1992. And I was done. I was done running because I just couldn't physically put the physical, spiritual, or emotional energy out anymore. And then I had my temper tantrum with the divine and yelled and screamed and chose to begin looking. And for everyone listening, for me, what it was like is, well, I'll just take a peek at the shadows, right? At the fears. Like, I'm just going to use one eye and I'll peek and maybe I'll pick one to work on. But guess what? As I started to do that, Sarah, it was liberating. Mm-hmm. Because I had released so much of this energy that I was like struggling to keep in. And I'm not saying it was easy. I had a hell of a journey. But the energy I freed up, complete that, just that one part completely changed my life. And then I realized what we run from gets bigger. It's like the little boogeyman when you're a kid.
Right.
It got bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you turn and face it, you're like, oh shit, you're only 2 inches tall, boogeyman. It was like we put the light on it. Do you hear people describing it that way when they finally stop the running and face it?
Yes, and they usually end up at my door. Because I always say we are an extremely intelligent species. We have more brains than we need, to be honest with you. But what we really need now is our wisdom that's within our bodies, that's within our blood, that's within our magic. And yes, shadow work is probably very uncomfortable because we have to feel. But I can tell you from cycles and cycles and cycles of working through shadows for myself and with clients, you feel, and then it's like a avalanche of realizations come right after it. It's more gratifying to me once you do this work, because you no longer need to point at the other to fix your problems. You look at yourself and go, I have a choice. I can either run into the light and stick my head in the sand, or I can face it and completely be free. And it takes a few moments. Might take a week. It might take a month, depending on how deep it is. But it is the most gratifying work I've ever done in my life. And to me, it's permanent. Nothing is permanent, but
I know what
we
you
have
mean.
a choice.
And it was a liberation for me. And we're going to talk about that more. I just noticed the time. I was so into this conversation. So let's take a real quick break and we'll be back in a moment. I'm with Sarah Breen of mindspiritmapping.com. Be sure to visit her site to learn more about her sacred services. We'll be right back.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Are you feeling the call to unleash your feminine wisdom, hone your empathic gifts, and rise as the goddess you are? You're not alone, my beautiful friend. Crystal Cockerham, spiritual mentor and certified red tent facilitator, trained in both shamanic and priestess practices, works with awakened, empathic women around the world to unlock their shackles of pain, shame, and self-condemnation so they can reclaim their sovereignty and liberate themselves from the world's perceptions. As the founder of Wisdom Awakens and an international best-selling author, Crystal uses her own intuitive blend of spiritual midwifery and energy healing to support women on their journey of transformation. You'll find supportive guidance and community in Crystal's programs, retreats, and sacred offerings. If you're feeling the call to embrace your feminine power, learn more about Crystal's supportive services at crystalcockerham.com.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am so grateful to have you circled up with me and my special guest, Sarah Breen. So Sarah, right before the break, we were talking about how liberating it is when we finally turn around to face our shadows, because it frees up so much energy. Mm-hmm. So why do you feel it's really imperative that we embody our shadows? Like as part of our healing journey, why do you find it imperative?
Because it affects us on all levels. So you've mentioned several times how exhausting, like physically exhausting it is to continually run. And at the end of, by like 2 o'clock, we all need that 2 o'clock cup of coffee to get us going through the rest of the day. When you release your shadows, you actually release the energy blocks that are within your body, because they are most of the time ancestral. So they over time will create stagnant energy, and this is what creates disease. Dis-ease. You are disconnected from your body. You're disconnected from your spirit. Like I will use, because it's mostly women, like my menstrual cycles as a child were terrible. Through my 20s, terrible, painful, like I couldn't go out. When I started doing my shadow work, I noticed every single month drastic change with my cycles, to the point where I didn't have cysts anymore show up on my um, reports. I didn't have all the pain anymore, because when we're holding and running from our shadows, they create illnesses in our body, and our nervous system goes completely haywire, and we start having low immune systems and things like that. So obviously now more than ever, it's important that we do this work so that we can free our body to effectively operate the way it knows how to operate, and that is creates a new body. Every 7 months it creates a whole new body. So I swear I look younger now than I have when I was in my early 20s. Like I looked like I was probably in my 40s and my 20s, because of the amount of work that needed to be done in the shadows.
I can really resonate with that, because I feel energetically younger now than I did at 40, and I'm almost 60. You know what I mean? And I believe it's because our light body, our spirit, everyone uses different words, our inner wisdom, it takes on so much muck, right? Stories, false beliefs, societal expectations, until it's like, like that bright light covered with mud. And like the treasure hunter is looking for it and it's right in front of them, but they can't see it because the treasure's covered with mud. It's like, yes. And that's how my visual was all these decades that I've been doing my own work, is I got to uncover it. I got to uncover it so my light can shine through. That's what I mean by me feeling younger. I feel like my light comes through now. I don't want to say there's no more layers, because shit, they keep coming up. Right? So, oh my goodness, just when you think you're over. And I tell my clients, I go, it never ends, honey. It doesn't end. It ends when we, transfer to the next realm. But in this body, it's going to keep happening. But I no longer fear it like I did 35 years ago. Does that make sense? Because I know that if I can look at the darkness, my light will shine brighter.
And that's exactly it. I always say, as above, so below. The deeper we root into the earth, into the void of the darkness, right? So Mother Earth is dark. The deeper you go, the darker it gets, right? But at the very core, there's this very bright light. So the deeper we go, the further we can reach higher. So I always say to people, we can be in our upper chakras all day long, but they can't process emotions. They give us a lot of, great visions. They can also give us a lot of scary visions. So we have to be able to dig deep into our roots, into the earth, so that we can remember the wisdom that's always been there, that's within our blood, that's available all around us, so that we can reach higher with our light and do it compassionately, with integrity, with an open heart, and just continue to expand. And you don't, yes, do we ever have our ego moments? Absolutely, we're human. So, but walking that tightrope allows you to keep yourself in check, so you do remain extremely humble in that process.
Yeah, another, as you were describing the tightrope again, something came up with me. It's like, am I like in my relationships, am I responding or am I reacting? Because to me, responding would be coming from my light. Reacting would be coming from my shadows. Do you find that description to be true in what you discover?
So I always think of the shadow as it's guarding your power you're not ready for. So
I like
so
that.
it's like the dog that the bark is worse than its bite type of thing. So when we see our shadow, and we're going to fight it, we're going to have like visceral responses to when we're coming up to a threshold to take our power back, to take back who we really are, to bring back that soul aspect that we need right now. And it's gonna put up a fight to see if you are truly ready to step forward. So when I walk into the shadow and I see a big barking dog, I get on the ground and I go, here, I got a treat for you. You know?
Yes.
So I look at my shadow and I allow it to just, I give it a cup of coffee, or I say, what's up? What's going on? You know, why are you fighting me so much? And you'll watch it soften.
I love that. I love that analogy of the dog too. I love the analogy that it's protecting us, you know, that our shadow's protecting us from what we're not ready to receive. Because I think for me, I always looked at my shadows as, trying to find the word without, something to be feared. It was something to be judged. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to know about those aspects of myself because, you know, you're told as a child, don't be angry, don't be this. And that, and so all those certain, that was my journey anyway. All those aspects of myself, I covered in a box because it's like, oh, it's not good to feel those things. Well, guess what, darling? That box will explode if you don't ever open the cover. And so for me, what that phrase you just used about protecting us until we're ready for it is really powerful. Like that really sat with me because I see now that every time I looked at my shadows and my fears, there was something inside me that told me I was ready. And I guess that was my inner wisdom or something, because I always knew when the time was right to look at it.
Right. It's like our own inner garden, right? I always look when I travel into people's unconscious, you know, I see what the beautiful garden that they have available to them, but they hide themselves from it because they don't feel like they're worthy of it. I mean, we could point fingers all day, but they all come down to belief structures, and whether it's yours or not yours. You know, organized religion over time has created, you know, this is good and this is bad. You know, different structures have created different things for us to say this is right and this is wrong. But in reality, there is nothing that is right or wrong, good or bad. Our reaction, response to things makes it so. So when it comes to shadow work, we have to be extremely responsible and cautious with how we approach things, because we can, I mean, I trigger people left and right all the time. And I just literally just have to walk into a room and people, you know, they start to, you know, start to quiver because they know that I represent both sides. And I'm not afraid to go into areas that make people uncomfortable, because we need to see it. We need to see it for what it is so that you can finally lay it to rest.
Yeah, and transmuted. And do you notice a greater influx of women in your you know, your private work that are really waking up to this and are ready to do the work? Because I'm noticing it in my own work with clients as well as myself. So what are you noticing?
I mean, especially over this year, I have, you know, students that just show up and go, I don't know what it is about this, but I need to sit down and listen. And I go, okay, good. You can sit and listen. And I create a sacred container so that they feel safe to ask those questions. And it's healthy, right? So there's people that are coming and going, I don't know why, but these things don't align to me anymore. They don't feel right. The common words is, this doesn't feel right anymore, and I don't know why. And I go, good, let's follow that. Let's go into the forest with that and see how this pans out for you.
Yeah, and I love that what you said, a sacred container, because doing this work, it has to be that, right? It has to be, and I know the work you do in the world, in the community, and the circles you make, and women are attracted to your offerings because of that container, and also because of your boldness of holding space for them to say, okay, let's do this. You know, like you kick their ass, actually. But
it's a loving kick.
Yes, it is. That's what I mean. It's like that combination, because what I love about what you do is they already feel the connection and they step into the sacred container. They might not even know 100% why they're drawn to it, right? It's just an inner knowing that they're ready to do the work. And then you're there to greet them and meet them and guide them along the journey, and AKA the shadow walker, right? Help them walk through their shadows and heal them, transmute them, whatever it is that they need to do. And I believe the world needs more of that. No more hiding our truth, hiding our authentic self, hiding our voice, because it led us to where we are now.
Exactly, because I have to keep myself in check a lot too, because people come in and people are quantum leaping at vast rates. What has taken most of us decades to do is taking women a fraction of the time, because this is available in the consciousness. And when we approach things in a very neutral, tightrope manner, I can see how big someone's energy is, but I also see how afraid they are of that. And to me, it doesn't matter if they're bigger than me or better than me. We all need us together, and we all have this beautiful medicine that we need to bring forward into the world. And where everyone's dealing with their shadows at the same time. So it's a constant reflection, and I don't give answers either. And my students will always say, well, there Sarah goes again, not giving an answer, but I can't give an answer because that answer is only something that you can discover. And I would be taking a very large portion of your journey away from you if I gave you an answer.
Oh, that's powerful. Right there is powerful, because you're not trying to tell them who they are. You're helping them discover the truth of who they are.
Yes, because that's their truth, not my truth.
And isn't that what we all need, really, after a lifetime of being told how to think, be? We grow up with judgments, societal, family, to have a place where we can go to be seen for the truth of who we are, so that we can uncover it. I think that's powerful. And I'm just seeing so many women, and I don't even want to put an age bracket around it. Like you said, the last 18 months, who are just waking up. See, this is what I believe. Everything causes everyone to slow down. And in that slowing down, an awakening was happening, because now women weren't going 100 miles an hour, and they're like, oh my God, why am I feeling this? Why am I not happy in this area of my life, or whatever it may be? And they're doing the work, right? See, before they kept so busy and we're going 100 miles an hour that it was easy to stuff everything down, or hide it, or whatever. Are you noticing that pattern too?
Yeah, and it's painful. People have to go through that pain, unfortunately, to realize that this is not me. This is too painful. This is exhausting. I don't want to do this anymore. This is what I hear all the time. I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I love my family. I love my life, blah, 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 but I don't want to do. And they're trying to describe what they feel is right in their way, but only themselves are right in the way.
Great insight to have too. And to me, that's an empowering insight to have, because when we realize that it's ourself that's in our way, that means we have the power to change it and don't have to wait for outside sources.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what the show is about. Inspire Conversations, about bringing my audience conversations to get them to at least look at their patterns, look at what they're experiencing as discomfort in their lives. Because as I found, there's such a message in the discomfort.
Yeah.
It's
a beautiful message.
Yeah, and I used to judge it or go, oh my God, my life sucks. No, that the discomfort was to say, hey, you're not being authentic, you're not being true to you, or listening to your own truth and inner wisdom. You're doing what you believe you need to do to be accepted, loved by others. And when I finally released all of that, and again, it's been in layers, right? Many layers. That's when I found peace. That's where I reconnected with joy. That's where I could create abundance in my life, because it was coming from a balance between the two.
Right.
Well, I have so enjoyed this conversation, and I want to invite everyone to, on Sarah's website, which is mindspiritmapping.com, you will find a powerful free gift along with many sacred offerings. Her free gift is called 3 Ways to Face Your Shadows and Unleash Your Fearlessness. And I invite you to swing by, grab it. but also visit the other pages of her blog, because Sarah, you are always launching programs to serve your community. If you'd like, we have another 2 minutes if you'd like to share some of the virtual programs, because this is a global audience that's coming up, or that you have on the site.
Yes, I mean, all of my classes are available in person in Swansea, Massachusetts, but also available through Zoom, and they're all available on my website. So I try to bring as many topics as possible, and then we do a lot of deep dives with different, my favorites is like the elements and shadow walking and things of that nature, along with rites of initiation. But they're all supportive tools. It's to help you move forward and realize that you are the one you've always kind of been waiting for.
Yeah, because you even have a portal for your classes, correct?
Yes, it's
Self-study
being
courses.
transferred over.
Oh yeah, she's I gotta say, you got some stuff like shamanic energy medicine, so many that when someone goes there, just I invite you to follow your intuition. Take advantage of something that speaks to you where you're at right now, because Sarah is such a gifted healer and leader in this realm. So I invite you all, visit mindspiritmapping.com. And Sarah, I just want to say thank you for the sacred conversation. Thank you for being in my life and sharing your wisdom with my audience.
Thank you very, very much. It's an honor.
And until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.